Welcome back. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is taking flack from some quarters over his comment on Saturday. According to the South African Jewish Board of Deputies, the slogan the president used, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," is a call to genocide of the Jewish people, which encourages the removal of all Jews from Israel. Karen Milner is with the South African Jewish Board of Deputies and joins me now. Karen, thank you so much for joining me here on Newsnight this evening. So, this slogan is not new. It's been used for decades now, and some say it comes from as far back as refugees of the 1948 war and was then later taken up by the Palestinian Liberation Organization. You say it has its origin in the Hamas Charter. Perhaps you could give us some more insights into the origins of this slogan.
Sure, with pleasure. Good evening, and thank you very much for having me on at this very important moment in our history as we head into the elections. So I think it's really important to understand the context and the reason why the slogan "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" is regarded as such a sensitive and offensive slogan for the Jewish community, because its origins do date back to the Hamas Charter and the original Hamas Charter, which swore for the entire destruction of Israel, the state of Israel, and called for the removal, and in fact certain spokespeople for Hamas have called for the removal, not only the removal of Jews from Israel, but had threatened, quote, that they would chase the Jews of Israel into the sea. So this slogan, it's not just a slogan with a pretty rhyme. It's a slogan that has a very specific context, that is understood in a particular way by Jews to be calling from the destruction of the state, for the destruction of the state of Israel, to be calling not for a two-state solution, not for a state for Palestinians and a state for Jews, both of whom are entitled to a state, but rather is calling for the eradication of the only Jewish state in the world. And what will happen to the Jews in that state when it is eradicated is something that is feared as a result of the way in which Hamas has used that statement. And we saw on the 7th of October, Hamas attempting to put that statement into operation. So for a president of the country to use a statement like that, for the head of a state to call for the destruction of another sovereign state, is firstly offensive to the citizens, the Jewish citizens, and perhaps to all the citizens of his own country, and is deeply problematic.
I want to come back to the president's use of the statement in a while, and for the time being focus a little bit more around the use of the slogan globally. It clearly means different things to different people. It's been used in student rallies. As I said earlier, it's been used for decades by different people looking for different things. One of the descriptions of what it means to people at the moment is that it's calling for freedom of Palestinians, that its use by students at pro-Palestinian rallies in many instances would have absolutely nothing to do with Hamas or what Hamas has done, perpetrated on the 7th of October last year, but more calling for a peaceful resolution and for the right to Palestinian self-determination. What's the response to that?
So my position and the position of my organization is we support the rights for Palestinian self-determination. Absolutely. That is when you support the rights for Palestinian self-determination and not for the destruction of the state of Israel, you do not use the term "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." You're quite right. We have seen that sloganeering across campuses, particularly in America, and students use slogans sometimes thoughtlessly, sometimes not understanding the full implications of what those slogans mean and how offensive they can be received by the community that are hearing that kind of slogan. And they need to hear how Jews understand that slogan, which is not as a call for self-determination as Palestinians, but rather, as it was originally intended, as a call for the destruction of the state of Israel and the genocide of Jewish Israelis in that state. Now, I
On
can
that point,
understand.
sorry, Karen, I apologize for interrupting you, but do you think the
No, that's
president
okay.
used that statement innocently, not understanding the full context or the meaning for Jewish South Africans when he used it this past weekend?
I doubt it. And I think that's what's so problematic. I don't know what's in the president's mind. And as I said, perhaps when students, and we know that students enjoy rallying cries, they enjoy slogans, they enjoy things that rhyme. And this is it's a rhyming slogan that is easy to chant when you're in a mass protest, and whether or not you fully understand the implications and the offensiveness when you're a student is a completely different issue. Not that it necessarily absolves them from all responsibility either, but it's very, very different when you're a student participating in a protest from being the head of state. And if you are the head of state, you should understand what your words mean and the implications of those words. And I think that in meetings with the president, we've explained why a statement like "from the river to the sea" is so problematic. So I'm doubtful that he did this in all innocence, and not understanding how it would affect the sensitivities of the Jewish community. As I said, if he wanted to call for a state for Palestinians, he could do so. Using a slogan, which is so problematic, is more than just unbefitting a president. It was really offensive and outrageous for a head of state to do such a thing.
Have you communicated with the presidency to express your dissatisfaction as the South African Jewish Board of Deputies?
Well, it is a recent, I think we will be possibly be communicating with him. We have had numerous interactions with the state president during December. We have not engaged with him yet at this point. And we are looking at a number of options in terms of expressing our dismay and our disappointment at the words that he used.
What steps are you considering if that communication with the president does not go as you hope it might?
So there are a number of options available to us. We've come out initially, as you know, we've come out with a statement where we have expressed our deepest, firstly, concern over the complete lack of regard for the Jewish community in making a statement like that. Secondly, in our outrage around really how disrespectful this is, firstly, and secondly, how inappropriate it is, and that it was effectively the last thing he said at a rally before the elections. And I can't help thinking that as we're heading into elections, when the country really is looking for hope, for somebody to vote for who will fix what is wrong in South Africa, the last words of the head of state and the head of the ANC in this election rally were a completely inappropriate, offensive, rallying slogan that, if anywhere, and it belongs nowhere, but it certainly doesn't belong in the mouth of a president.
Well, thank you so much for your time this evening. That was Karen Milner from the South African Jewish Board of Deputies.